Calm does not mean passive. It means centered. It means you've done your research. You speak to the points. You are articulate. You can back up what you're throwing down. Like, it absolutely means that you keep your head when other people are spinning out. And imagine when you're doing that, that your soul is speaking louder than the noise around you.
Well, welcome to Intuition, Your Success Compass. I'm Vicki Baird, your host and wisdom-led mindset coach. This podcast is where intuition meets strategy and mindset meets meaning. I help smart, successful women stop overthinking and start trusting their inner wisdom, because your clarity, confidence, and next level life are already within you. With over 2 decades of coaching experience, a knack for systems, and a great gift for spotting what's off, be it a saboteur thought or an out-of-alignment choice, I'm here to help you connect your brilliant brain with your soul's knowing. You'll get grounded insights, a little humor, and real-life tools to create change that actually sticks. Like your go-to morning brew, unfamiliar, grounding, and the nudge you didn't know you needed. And I love coffee, so that works too.
Hi there, welcome back. Or if this is the first time, get in here. Thank you for joining me for this episode. Like I said in the previous one, but if you haven't listened to it yet, completely fine. I often work backwards myself on some of the podcasts I get behind on. You can be peaceful and powerful at the same time. I actually think it's imperative that you match up the two, or that peaceful comes before powerful, because being powerful does not mean that you're pushing your energy on someone else. It means that you know how to hold your energy, you know how to be self, and you don't have to act out an ego or to be obnoxious or actually be heard. You know that there's a myth that being soft means being weak. That if you're calm and centered, you're somehow passive. I said to someone one time, do not mistake my calm for a lack of strength, because they were trying to push every button they thought I had. They just didn't know that I had uninstalled those buttons and that they didn't work for me anymore. Decades back, sure. Oh, they would have worked so hard. But I decided that I could be calm, centered, and more effective when I was that way, when I was collected, and when I didn't lose my stuffing. I've never liked drama. I have never liked the gossip or the talking about other people or being upset for the sake of being upset. But yes, there were times where I would morph into those I was around so that they didn't feel bad about being over the top emotionally, or not in charge of their emotions, rather. But over the last decade, especially, I have realized that strength is something that when someone has it, they don't go around showing it off. Like, they don't tell you that they're strong. They don't tell you they're collected. You just see it in their actions and how they carry themselves, and how they're not willing to join in on the bashing of others or in commiserating for the sake of misery loves company, or so they say. I choose not to be the company for misery. If I can help you, if there's something going on that I feel like, maybe you just need a shoulder or some understanding, then I'm happy to. Most of the time, I will opt for quiet. I will opt for no comments over saying something that I know damn well I cannot take back. I have seen some of the most powerful people I know in their industry, in their life, in their world, in our world, be the quietest in the room. And sometimes people will say to me, "Are you tired?" And I'm like, "No, I have a lot of energy." I get tired, but if I'm at an event or something like that, I have a lot of energy. I am very happy to be there, but I'm listening. I'm taking the temperature of the room. I'm discerning. Who do I want to talk to? Who don't I want to talk to? I'm very grounded, almost rooted in my knowing that I'm unflappable when I know who I am and how I am. And of course, this has taken quite a bit of work because I didn't want to be left out. I'm human. I want to feel like I belong. But it wasn't until I figured out that I don't want to belong in those conversations. I want to belong in the conversations where we're talking about how to elevate humanity, how to help animals, how to realize our own probability with our soul and with our brain. I don't want to talk about the lower levels of the tree. I love my trees, but I don't want to talk about those lower branches. It the people that are able to have this calm and this awareness and this assessment even of what's going on, well, they can be dangerous. They can be disruptors because the systems count on chaos. Most of our systems count on chaos. And most people, and I will give you full compassion and empathy for the last 8 years, but most people are tapped into the idea that if you're chaotic, you're actually solving something, but you're not. And I'd rather engage from the place of wisdom, of intuition, of my sage, and I'll bring my empathy. I often bring my curiosity. That doesn't always go over well. As I've said before, I'm the volunteer trainer for the horse sanctuary. And that means that I'm engaging with all kinds of lovely people who want to help the animals. And occasionally we get those that want to be dramatic about the backgrounds of our horses or the injustice of it all. And that's true. We should absolutely be not supporting the racing industry, the Amish abuse to animals, the overuse of these horses and donkeys and such. We should be, but you're also not going to serve any purpose by being irate in the place that is there, that has given a home, a lifetime home to these animals. So I have had to say to people, I appreciate your passion, but you're going to turn it down or you're not going to volunteer here. And they'll just look at me like, how can you not be so upset? And I said, well, I choose not to talk about the abuse they went through in front of these animals because I know them to be sentient beings and I know they know what they went through. But I also know that they know they're safe and that anyone who comes in here sees them as the adorable beings that they are today with the power of a 1,000-pound animal. So I often have curiosity when I'm dealing with people who are there, and I'll say, well, what good is this going to do to get so irate here? If you want to take that passion and translate it into, writing to your elected officials, going and generating a conversation with the Amish about the use of their animals and abuse of their animals, or, hey, just don't support the products that they turn out, that would help, then fine. But we are not going to serve anything by being in that heightened, the sky is falling kind of energy. And sometimes that will help them actually pay attention more because they're not geared into the failing of humanity and what these poor things have gone through, which is actually a transference, I feel. Like when people are feeling it that deeply, I wonder if in their life, what they've gone through, and they're then transferring it onto the animal. Because you know what? Animals handle it better than we do. And they might hold on to some stuff, but with a little bit of love, they release it. So we could learn a lot from them. When you're in your sage, your power comes from that groundedness, from understanding that, yes, horrific things happen. Horrific things even happened in my life, but I am no longer there. And if I keep telling that story, which in the past I did, not to everybody, but to myself, then I'm just taking away from my life. I'm taking away from the joy that I can bring. One of the things that I do with the animals is every one of them, when I halter the horses up, I tell them they're the best horse on the planet. They're the best donkey on the planet. Every one of them gets told this. And I swear they talk between stalls and they're like, oh, she's going to give you that line. But I can feel them melt into it because they know I really believe it. I really believe that the horse I'm with in that moment is the best horse on this planet because I am presented my grounded self. I am giving them my whole attention. And for that, they let me kiss their neck. There's a little bit of transaction that goes on. So if you're interested in feeling truly empowered and have a belief about yourself and within yourself that you don't know everything, but you could figure it out, that if you want that, you have to have some kind of decision to turn down that voice that likes to lean into the chaos and into the drama and into the heightened energy that's not going to solve anything anyway, because that's left brain acting. That is not right brain where solutions are and where emotions and where intelligence is. The left brain is the judge and where the saboteurs live and our subconscious, which does, yes, lead the show until such time that you decide, I don't want it to lead the show anymore. I want to be calm and intentional. And just so you know, like, that doesn't mean boring. I have so much fun in my life because I choose not to have those conversations or be in that. There's a myth that if you don't push, nothing will happen. Like if you're not upset and angry and indignant, no movement will happen. But that's just a sleight of hand. That's just a distraction in action. That's not actually going to help anything. Pushing often creates resistance. A push against presence invites a flow that can happen. I just had an interaction yesterday where someone was accusing others who were not in presence of being lazy and using some pretty derogatory framework and language. And I held a firm no, we don't talk about people like that. And if you can pause and listen, who you're actually talking about is me. I had dropped something. And I knew I dropped it, but I had my hands full. No one is in any danger. It was in a driveway. And I was going to go back and get it because I knew I had to make another trip across that driveway because one trip was not going to handle it. So all of these years of listening to myself and realizing I better know my own boundaries and my own voice, I was very kind with her, but I held a line and I said, you're talking about me right now. And she double backed and she was like, blah, blah, blah. And I said, no, you were talking about other people. When you found out it was me, you changed your story. That's not okay either. But you need to not judge first and maybe learn to ask questions. She didn't like it, but I'm okay with it because I knew that I had to speak truth to the moment. A previous me, especially the one that was raised by a father who would crack me across the head for saying anything, previous me would have just said, yeah, it's terrible. Nobody picked that up. And not even own up to the fact it was me. Me now is like, yeah, I dropped it. I knew I dropped it. Even if I didn't know I dropped it, I'm the only one here. I obviously dropped it. So it's not causing any harm. That practice, that habit of going full throttle on something that isn't even a threat is a system that is at its top level overwhelm. And I recognized that. And I checked in with her after about an hour and said, you all right? You okay now? And then she went off on something else. And I just put up my hand and I said, no, I've said before, I will not do this bashing of other people because it doesn't feel good to me. If there's a solution to be found, let's find it. But otherwise, we're not going to push here. We're not going to create problems, because you will often find that the people who are like that, when someone is willing to say to them, what's the matter? Hang on, let's find a solution. Or to say, no, it was actually me. They suddenly change their tune because they have no face, like they have no place in the argument. They're only going on the indignation and the anger, and that never solves anything. There are times and places where you may have to push somebody out of your way, of course, but for the majority of our interactions, and offices often have one or two of these people if you have more than enough. If you have more than enough, that's not a good way to say that. If you have like more people, not just like two or three of you, they often have this because this is human nature to be up in that chaotic, and it's been promoted in the last 8 years. Well, probably before that. It's just out loud now, which I don't mind actually, because I feel like that brings truth to interactions, and more, it's even more important that we practice being able to say things without edge and without judgment, but that still create that line of no, thank you. That's not what we're doing here. So had I pushed, she would have then just been mad at me. So rather than pushing, I brought the situation. I couldn't bring her, but the situation to presence. And the flow that happened was, that was me. It's fine. No, we're not doing that. I'm going back to what I was working on. And I had hope that she could hear me, because in the past, it's been fine. After a little bit, she'll say to me, I'm not like you. And I said, I don't need you to be like me. I just need you to not talk that way about other people that I care about. So, and who aren't doing things intentionally to piss you off. But you have to see that they're not doing it intentionally to piss you off. You have to get out of victim first. So I had to hope that it was okay. And it is. It's okay. We'll have a few days before we see each other again. And it'll be okay. Because I adore her. I know where it's coming from, but that still doesn't mean I'm going to put up with it. And that sense of self comes from having enough conversations to know where my lines are and what I'm willing to participate in and what I'm not. And actually being willing to have her not like me anymore, because she may not want. I've had that before where people are like, it's too hard to be around you. And because I do expect adults to be adults. If you want to be a child, it must be in fun. If we are going to be childlike, you bring it. You absolutely bring it. I can be one of the most irreverent 12-year-old sense of humor you have ever seen. You bring it if you want to be childlike. If you want to be childish, please see yourself out. We are card-carrying adults, and there is no need for that. So when this is happening for you, when you're facing someone who may have the drama gene going, I would just ask that you do something that keeps you present. Rubbing two fingers together is a great one. People often don't pick up on that. You're in charge of your breathing. You can pay attention to taking deeper breaths. And then you can ask yourself, what is the most powerful, peaceful move I can make right here, right now? And I used to do that. I used to ask myself, okay, what's my move here? And then it became no longer necessary because I knew what my move was. And most of the time I do know what my move is because I trust my language to follow my intuition. I'm not somebody who's going to tell you or call you any kind of names or get mad along with you. So it takes a practice, though. It takes mini practicing, especially if you're someone who is quick to trigger. I'm going to lay it to you straight here. People don't trigger you. If you have a trigger, that's on you. That is not on other people. They are just walking around acting themselves. It's on you to disarm those triggers. If you've got buttons, figure out why you've got buttons. Figure out maybe what saboteur or is there therapy that's required. but people cannot trigger you. They are not responsible for you being triggered. You are responsible for that. And the follow-up to that is it feels pretty freaking amazing when you are no longer triggered. I got a text earlier today, and the way it was delivered in the past, admittedly, I would have had a visceral reaction to that. I screwed up. I didn't do something right. And when I read it, I said, I don't have time for that. I have to record another podcast. And I put it aside because I had nothing to do with it. I was just reading, what someone else had written. So no, there's no longer a trigger there. And I really do not believe everybody's walking around trying to figure out what Vicky's triggers are and hit her buttons. That's very self-centered. So the next time you hear yourself saying that triggered me or they triggered me, that's fabulous. Take the power in that and say, wait a minute, what triggered me? What reaction did I have that I don't want to have anymore? This isn't about burying it. It's actually about bringing it up and putting so much light around it that you can see what the issue is, and you can do some PQ reps. You can shift, you can explore what is another reaction. Like, what response would you rather have rather than a reaction? And just do a little bit of navigating that until you feel a little bit of relief. Because power really is in your boundaries and your truth telling and your consistent self-honoring. It really means that you're able to be, like fierce without yelling, without taking it up octaves, or without doing the silent treatment or serves them right, any kind of attitude. That consistent self-honoring is important because that, again, is having you learn what it is that works for you and what doesn't work for you. So one of the clients I was working with through Mindset Breakthrough, people pleasing was her superpower. And I do mean superpower. Now, those that end up in a people pleasing role likely had very disruptive childhoods and learned to rescue others, oftentimes their parents, hoping to be approved of or liked. So you just get into a habit of it, right? And I had a lovely, lovely, lovely woman who she knew it and she wanted to stop doing that. And I said, we're not going to do this all at once. We have to start with the perfect strangers. So someone calls into the business, you don't people please. What are the business boundaries? Know those business boundaries, use them. And she works for a company, so that was perfect. Like if she was the owner, well, that might have been tricky. But because she works for a company, the business set the boundaries. She just had to listen to them. And we started there, and then we worked to, I can't remember if it was landscaping. It's in that genre. It's like landscaping, or if it was somebody who was mowing her lawn all the time. I can't remember which one it was. But she was having some work done that she couldn't do, but she was also paying for said work, and we needed to have some boundaries there. And then we started just incrementally, she started incrementally moving this closer and closer, bringing her circle in to herself. And I said, you can still love all of these people as much as you love them. We're not asking you not to love someone. What we're asking is for you to take up a little bit of space in the relationship so that you're not empty because you're pleasing everyone else and you have nothing left for yourself. And she started doing this. And then because she started feeling this sense of self, her kids caught on to that. And they were recognizing that she was calmer. She was more fun. They had to learn no along the way. I'm not saying it was an easy road, but these are young teens who are going to be out in the world and helping to run our world. And they need to know to not fall into that pattern themselves, because our saboteurs get determined in childhood. And there's no way to get out of childhood without saboteurs, because you have gray matter. So if you understand that, you can take the power that's going to the pleasing outside of yourself that then turns into resentment, or hyperachieving that turns into overwhelm and burnt out adrenals, or just getting involved in other people's junk that they don't need you involved in. Don't be a keyboard warrior or a phone warrior. There's got to be another. Is it still called a keyboard warrior if you're doing it on your phone? Don't know. But then she started leading her kids without ever really saying, here's what's happening and here are the boundaries. And then she got to overhear a conversation with her friend, or sorry, her daughter and her daughter with her friends. And one of the other friends was suggesting that they go do something that not completely illegal, but right on that line, right? And her daughter said, I can't do that. I have respect for myself and I'm drawing a line here. And come on, if you heard your 16-year-old say that, wouldn't you be like, I won the parenting award? There should be music and fanfare and confetti. But she did all the work before that. She didn't announce to anyone that she was doing this. So don't feel like you have to yell, I have new boundaries. That would be feeding into the chaos, wouldn't it? And into the heightened emotion that doesn't solve anything. We're redefining power in your life and realizing that we don't have to overload all the circuits. We can rest. We can lean into our intuition. We can figure out what the heck alignment even means for us, because it's something different for every soul and human that's here. And we can change our perspective of what does strength look like? What does sense of self look like? And here's a question you may ask yourself: where have I confused force with leadership? And I know I've been there. Like, I know I have not always led in the best way, because I would just be like, well, I know it, so you do it. And if they didn't do it, I'd be like, well, why didn't you do it? And again, one of the gifts of coaching all these years and volunteering is you learn to clearly communicate. And there are times where people think just being louder or just pushing more will get you your way. But what you resist persists. So if you keep pushing, you may push people away. One of my clients who I freaking adore, we worked on her, and I can't even say it without laughing because she made me. I recognize the struggle that was in it for her, but we did laugh a lot through this process. We had to move her, one of the most loving people you ever meet, but she had fiery temper. And she would be like, F you to people, not directly to their face all the time, a couple times, and she would just be like, well, boop, then. And I'm like, no. We're going to get to the point where that doesn't charge you up, because forceful is not effective. And she's done it. She really has. And which is lovely, because then she gets to be more of who she is. Like, that's the beautiful thing here. When you realize you don't have to fit a stereotype or lean into the bitchiness or be a Karen or any of those. Sorry, Karens. I'm so sorry that you guys ended up with that. That's not nice. It should have been a shape, like that person's a triangle or something rather than a Karen. But where have you confused force with leadership? If you have young kids, gonna ask you to look at it there, because they need you to be a leader, of course. And you do have to say sometimes, put on your shoes and get your butt in the car. That's still leadership, all right? But forcing your will on someone or forcing your way is not going to work. And the sooner you realize that, the better. Being the calm in chaos feels amazing. I've been accused of not caring. I suppose that I should put that one caveat out here. People have, mostly family, have accused me of not caring because I didn't get all wrapped up in the upset energy or I think of it as the back of my hand velcroed to my forehead. It's just that very dramatic look. I just refuse to go there. And I mean, a lot of that's my personality, but the rest of it is that I've learned no clear high level frequency change or activity, clarity comes from that place. You just can't see it. So we need more calm women in leadership. Not because we've been told if you have a lot of emotion that you're just a woman and you must have your period or something. I don't care about all that BS. Like, funny story. My former husband said that once to me. And I said, you say it again, and we will not be in a relationship, and you won't have to worry about when I have it or not. It was very clear. And that was at 19. I'm odd to remember a few more of those things. I feel good about myself. But we need more calm women in leadership. Calm does not mean passive. It means centered. It means you've done your research. You speak to the points. You are articulate. You can back up what you're throwing down. Like, it absolutely means that you keep your head when other people are spinning out. And imagine when you're doing that your soul is speaking louder than the noise around you, that you're bringing in the information that is of the highest interest of everyone involved, and how that feels to know that you didn't get pulled along with whatever the wave was. And I'm going to say again, it's a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun to not be bothered by what somebody else is doing or what they're saying or how they're saying it. And to be clear, I'm only going to say something when the person is saying something to me that they're throwing other people under the bus, so to speak, or that it's so completely wrong that I cannot allow it to go. More often than not, I will choose to not say anything. Egregious, anything racism, anything sexism, anything derogatory, I am going to have a say, but I'm going to do it from a calm, clear space. That's basically saying, I will not engage in this conversation with you. And if I have data, oh, you better look out, because I will bring the data, but I will bring it with the curiosity and with the excitement of sharing the information, whether the other person takes it or not. I really wish I had these skills with my former in-laws. I really wish I did, because I always felt like, oh boy, I better educate here. And I realize now that I'm still okay with it, because I know whatever I said was what I knew at the time, and I didn't, call any names or anything like that. But I just wish I worried less about that back then, about what they didn't know or what they were saying was just so utterly wrong. And just my late husband actually would say that. He's like, I don't know why you care. They're not going to change that. You just have to focus on our family here. And he was right. He was absolutely right about that. But I was like, no, I just didn't come from a family that talked about other people like that. It's just, well, not to me anyway. Maybe they do talk about me. I don't know. I haven't asked. But imagine being that calm for yourself, for your cortisol levels, my goodness, woman, for your organs, for your sense of peace, for the beauty that you get to see when your head's not all clouded with all these other infractions that might be perceived. So when you bring that calm into leadership, it also helps other people feel calm, and then their brilliance gets to shine. So, where could you lead with more presence this week? Because that's really where the power comes from. It's I just realized there's 3 P's there. There's presence, which will allow you to feel peaceful, which is damn powerful. So, where can you lead with more presence this week? And let that be good. Like, let that be it. Where can you do it? Try it out and let that be good. And then remember to celebrate that you caught your brain trying to run away with itself in the drama, in the moment, in the finger pointing. Remember, if you're pointing a finger, you have 3 pointing back at you. So, where can you lead with more presence this week? Because I want you to give this gift to yourself. We're not concerned about the people around you right now. We want it for you. So your presence will lead to your peacefulness, which will then be powerful. And I'd love for you to join me in my next Mindset Breakthrough. Check out the website, vickybaird.com, where these skills are taught and reinforced and applicable within 8 weeks. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. It's been a fun year, hasn't it? And I do mean that. It's been a very fun year. And there's been ample opportunity to practice not joining the chaos. And I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate you for being you. And I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you for spending this time with me today. If something landed, made you laugh, or gave you that nudge to look within, share this episode with someone who could use a little clarity too, please. And if you're curious about going deeper through coaching, courses, or community, you can always find me at vickybaird.com or on any of the socials at VickyBaird Coaching. And until next time, keep trusting yourself. You've got this, and your soul is cheering you on.